Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your girl T Says, and I am so excited about kicking off the very first episode of the Tea and Pop Show, starring myself and Uncle
Pop.
Dad.
Remember that. Pop. No, not Aries Spears. I know I look like it, but I'm not him.
All right. So, we want to talk about today hood classics. Pretty much the entire genre and makeup of the show is going to be about everything, any and everything Black centered: music, pop culture, movies, all that good stuff. But
That's me.
to,
Black, y'all.
yep,
I'm blackity black.
yep,
And I'm black.
and I'm
I'm
Black,
black and
y'all.
I'm back.
You're corny, is what you are. Um, but today we want to talk about Black classics, what we consider a Black classic. And I do want to start with, I was thinking about this as I was going to the park with the kids today. Would you say there is a difference between Black classics and hood classics? Because as we all know, the Black experience is not monolithic, right?
True,
So
true.
we can relate to some Black movies, but not necessarily hood movies. And then there are people who can relate to more of the hood movies and not necessarily the Black movies. So do we combine the two, or is there somewhat of a difference?
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to defining a hood classic and a black classic movie, there, I think it's generational because it's going to be. I was thinking about this as well. Like for me, Claudine is a black classic movie. Uptown Saturday Night, black classic movie. Let's Do It Again, Piece of the Action, the Mac, the black exploitation era. Those are black classic movies. Some of them are hood classics. Daft, Hell Up in Harlem, Ted Turner, um, and then that brings me to like Black Dynamite. Is
Hmm.
Black Dynamite a hood classic or is it a classic?
Which Black Dynamite?
There-
Like, wasn't
there-
there a Black
no,
Dynamite
there's only
from?
one Black Dynamite.
The one with Michael J. Parker or whatever. I
No,
mean,
it's
not
Michael J.
Parker.
Parker. It's Michael J. White. He's from Bridgeport, so
Know that.
yeah, yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. It's Michael Jai White. I don't know
Where did I get Parker from?
because you're
Anyway.
thinking about Paula Jai Parker,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
who was in a lot of good classic
Yep.
movies,
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out.
Sprung, and
Yep. Shout out to Apologize.
yeah, you
You know
know,
it's hot out here for a pimp.
yeah,
She
yeah,
was she was in that. That wasn't her singing that.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. She was DJ's main chick who quit him or whatever. But
Yeah.
we're not even getting into that just yet. But the point is, it's going to be generational. Um, I love the '70s movies because I grew up on them, going to the movie theater, Horace McMahon Theater in Norwalk, Connecticut. You go see the Saturday matinee. You're going to watch a karate flick, and you're going to see a black movie. You know what I'm saying? Um, Cornbread Earl and Me. Those types of movies we were going to see along with the karate movie. So for me, those are black classic movies. I don't know that I would necessarily call them hood classic movies. You think when we think of hood classic movies, I think everybody's thinking of, Boys in the Hood, New Jack City, those types of
Those
movies.
are my movies. Because everything he named, I have no idea, never heard of any of them.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But those movies, the New Jack Swing era, the 90s, that's my era. That's what I remember.
Well, you heard of Black Dynamite, and when it
Well, yes, I
okay,
have, but I thought it
so
was based on a character from,
no, Black Dynamite was an homage to those black exploitation movies, to
gotcha.
Rudy Ray Moore. And I was thinking about this. That was a funny part. It was an homage to like Three the Hard Way with Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, Jim Kelly, because those guys were leading those movies back then. Richard Roundtree, Max Julian, my man's name. Oh man, he played Priest in Superfly. I can't think of his name. He played Whitley's father on A Different World. I just can't think of his name right now. It escapes me. But he was in those movies back then. But Dolomite was one of those really extremely low budget black exploitation movies. And when I say low budget, I mean extremely low budget movies.
Damn.
where he like kicked the guy, didn't even hit him. The dude jumped in the trunk, and the trunk closed. That, and you could, in certain scenes, you can see the boom mics and stuff like that.
have does he have a movie about Dolomite coming out or
Oh,
like
it's out.
oh,
It's
I don't
out
know.
like 6 years. You need to watch it. Actually, My Name is Dolomite. It's actually a really good
Okay.
movie. Wesley Snipes was in it. And it was a really good. Mike Epps. So it was a really good movie, a good take on Dolomite. But just Black Dynamite was really an homage to that. And I didn't mean to get off subject on classic and stuff. I was just thinking about that earlier. Like it really paid homage to Dolomite with you can see the mics in the front picture frame and stuff like that. Hilarious. Yeah. Think about when he
Okay.
threw the boomerang. That shit before I came in the room. That was just hilarious. But yeah, so again, not to get off subject, but
Mhm.
um it's generational. It's definitely generational. Um because with me and you gotta think about it, our thing was watching movies together.
Yeah.
We didn't always we mainly watch scary movies. I mean we watched different stuff, but our main thing was scary movies. I
Mhm.
put you on to those early. So it wasn't a lot of the hood classic movies that we were watching together, so to speak.
Right.
And when those movies were out in the 90s, you know, Jason's Lyric and all that, and all those movies at a time when they were, giving black filmmakers budgets to make movies, you were young. So
Yeah.
again, I'm not gonna watch Jason's Lyric with you, and
Yeah.
my man got his butt all out in the swamp with Jada Pinkett.
Shout out
You know what I'm
Alan
saying?
Payne.
You know what I mean?
And
G Money.
I've only seen Jason's Lyric like once or twice in my life. I don't know.
Yeah, and that again was not to critique it because I respect anybody that takes their vision and puts it on screen to make a movie. So that wasn't that great of a movie, even when in hindsight. Again,
Mhm.
we're always just so happy to see black people on screen that for us, yeah, it's a classic. That's a hood classic. It's a classic movie because of black people on screen. I hear people say they love Soul Plane. I don't know how the hell you love Soul
I
Plane.
didn't like Soul Plane. It was one of those movies that I could only watch one time. And there are a lot of movies um that are very trauma based that I can only really get into, I can watch once or twice. But Soul Plane was one of those movies where even with all the comedic legends that were in that movie, I still can't watch it a second and third time. I I liked Kevin Hart very early on in the beginning,
The
um,
movie?
in the beginning of his career.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Very early on in the
Trying to get
beginning of his
clarification to that. Okay. Because, Him and Paper Soldiers is one of my favorite movies. I love
very
Paper
early on in
Soldiers.
his career. I love Paper Soldiers. I
Love
could watch
Paper
that
Soldiers.
all
Yeah.
because that's when I feel like Kevin Hart was the funniest. But that's the common theme with a lot of black actors and rappers and stuff like that. It starts very early on in the career where they're hungry to get on,
Mhm.
and so they give their best, and when they start to get a name and start to get at the height of their careers, everything goes downhill because they're at a point where they don't have to make anything that really appeals to
Well,
anybody.
it's not so much that they have to make
That's my
something that
opinion.
appeals.
That's my
Right.
opinion.
Right. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. The thing is, though, now that they're mainstream, you have to appeal to a wider audience. So, they can't still get up there and say to, black people do this and, white people talk like this guy. They can't do that stuff anymore.
Hmm.
Now you have to appeal to a wider audience. So your comedy is going to get watered down because one, you're not trying to offend anybody because they want to still keep getting that bag, which I get, which is why, certain comedians get to a certain level and other ones don't. They're still playing, the so-called chilling circuit
Hmm.
because they're not going to change their act. And you got to look. I respect whatever you do. If you want to go for the money and do what you got to do, besides, you know, um, do what you got to do to get your money.
Hmm.
If you feel that your integrity will not allow you to water your comedy down or your act down or your lyrics down and you don't want to do that, I respect that too. Do what's best for you, what's gonna let you sleep at night. That's how I look at that entire situation.
Okay.
Um but kind of getting back on subject with the movies, like I said, I named a bunch of movies from the 70s, and I was a kid. So when these movies were out, I was literally like 7, 8 years old. But I remember watching them whenever they came on TV, whether it was because there was no BET at that time. What we used to watch them on. Well, they used to come on something because I used to watch. You know what I mean? I would do like double features. Sidney Poitier, Richard Pryor. I mean, I mean Bill Cosby, but they would be double features, and you're watching those movies. So I always loved those movies. You talk about Eddie, doing the clumps. Richard
Mhm.
Pryor did that, and Which Way Is Up?
Mhm.
He played
See
a
myself on
preacher, he
television.
played a
Now the nigga
grandfather,
gonna be
and
famous,
he
all
played the
right.
main
Gonna be the
character.
first one to ever see
So
his
he
own
now,
film
granted, he didn't
on
do it like
TV.
Eddie with the makeup and
Let me
everything.
say that
He literally
properly.
just changed his
Rewind
hair
that,
and his
nigga. You
facial
got
hair
it.
in each different character.
Mhm.
But he did that. You know what I mean? That's not something that's easy. So for me, those movies are classic, not just because they had black cast, but the writing was excellent. The acting was excellent. You know what I mean? These were believable stories. You
Mhm.
have some that
Mhm.
are just not believable. Um, and I mean, I've seen on various streaming services, you know, black movies that I never saw in a theater, never heard of them before, and you're like, oh, Wood Harris is in this? Okay, maybe
Mhm.
I'll check it out. Or Sticky Fingers is in this? No, I don't think I want to watch that.
But Sticky Finger, so a lot
and
of
I'm not just a Sticky Fingers. Shout out Onyx.
Sticky Fingers, yeah, Onyx, Sticky Fingers, Fredro Starr, because Sticky Fingers is in Too Deep, and I would consider that a hood classic movie.
I would too, but he was not a major component of
Was
In Too
getting
Deep.
ready to
Oh,
say
okay.
that
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
but he was
Oh,
a
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
character.
stole your thunder. I stole your thunder. I was gonna say that. I stole.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
My bad. My
He
bad.
was a character that was still believable. And granted, he might have just been playing himself, but he was a character that's a believable character that it based on what the movie was about, not necessarily a black guy being a cop, but just having, a major, kingpin, drug dealer, whatever you want to call them, and having, soldiers that are more low level and all of that. There are black people that can relate to, knowing stick up kids around the way. So, that's yeah, well, see, I don't know any of them personally, but I'm pretty sure that I've grown up with some.
Yeah,
That might have been their career as they got older. I don't really know. I don't live in the hood anymore, so you know. But then I was thinking, and to your point of these movies also being generational, there are some movies that from back then that people now would consider hood classics and black classics. Like Boomerang is one that I would consider a hood classic, black classic, whichever one you want to go with. I don't think we really decided if we can combine the two, but I'm not a CEO. I don't know any black CEOs or not even CEOs, but marketing executives, creative directors, just the titles that these people held where they're high up in the C-suite. I don't know any personally, but that doesn't mean that, I couldn't relate to the subject matter, being played by a guy or getting over on a guy or whatever the case may be. So, that movie, it's relatable because of the subject matter, but it's also like, dag, we could be up there. It gave you something to look forward to. Coming to America. How many of y'all know some black African princes around here?
Good morning, my neighbors.
Well, I get emails from them all the time. I respond to, but I guess I know some. I do get emails all, from.
Well,
I see what you're saying though, it's funny you brought up Coming to America because I was going to bring that up too. And again, and sometimes just more of an FYI, folks. Sometimes we're going to get off topic, but we'll get back on it. We'll steer ourselves back. But I was thinking about when she said Coming to America, I was already thinking about Eddie Murphy not getting the props he deserves for
shout out to Eddie Murphy.
exactly for black actors, man. Black actors.
Actors, man.
And Coming to America, who he had, James Earl Jones, Mad Sinclair. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean, but
He had James Earl Jones,
yeah.
Mufasa.
Yeah.
Like James Earl Jones, other than Star Wars, like James Earl Jones was considered a serious actor. Like even him being in Claudine, which Claudine was a dramedy. He never, they didn't call it that. Yeah, you got to check Claudine out. Claudine was she was a single mother of, I forget, like 6, 7 kids. She was a single mother. James Earl Jones played a garbage man that was trying to talk to her. Um, basically, and they end up getting married, basically. But of course, there's a lot of drama along the way. It's a mini movie. But like James Earl Jones played he played a movie called The Great White Heavyweight Champion of the World. So James Earl Jones was playing those types of roles. So for him to be in Coming to America, like that was a coup. Like my man, Calvin Lockhart, I think his name is. He played Biggie Smalls in Let's Do It Again. He was another one of those blaxploitation actors, but he was in the movie. You know what I mean? You see all the black dancers that he had, like he put people on. And I remember he getting a lot of flack. And if I'm not mistaken, it was for Spike Lee. Shout out Spike. And I think they've reconciled ever since then. But I remember he was getting a lot of flack for like not having black directors and things like that. And it's like, bruh, you see how many black people I'm employing on these movies? Like, it's just, that just always tripped me out when people would give him flack for that. And, Ed did a lot. Like, I think Eddie should have won the Oscar for Dreamgirls. I think he should have won that Best Supporting Oscar. The only reason he didn't get the Oscar.
It's a trend going on TikTok right now. That's the only reason why that's stuck in my head. But anyway.
The only reason he didn't win it was because Norbit came out at that time. During the Oscar campaign season, Norbit came out.
Shout out to Norbit. Okay.
Yeah, shout out Rasputin.
I love that movie.
I ain't gonna say I loved it.
I love it. I don't care. It's hilarious to me.
I'll watch it again. I'm not saying I don't love it. I like it. It's an okay movie. It's something that, past afternoon, if I don't have nothing to do or book to read or something, then maybe I'll watch it. But it's not something I'm gonna say, hey man, let me pop in Norbit real quick and then watch this.
Something I would. I love that movie. I don't care. I had Zoe watch Class Act yesterday because because my poor baby has no rhythm. My poor baby. We were trying to teach her how to do like the lean with it, rock with it, and the pool palace and all these dances and stuff. If you are a millennial, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So my baby is hearing all these songs for the first time, and she's trying to do the dances that go with them because I don't know what's up with like Gen Zers trying to recreate dances. It's like, no, that's not how it goes. So she's trying to do the dance and we're trying to teach her, right? There's a scene in Class Act that reminded me of us trying to teach her. And so I was telling her, like, this is what you remind me of. So I made her watch it. And then she saw the scene and was like, oh, that's where y'all got that from. Yes, yes. Because we definitely repeat several lines from that movie on a daily basis because it's Kid and Play. Shout out to Kid and Play, Christopher Reed and Christopher Martin.
House Party 1 is still the best one.
I like House Party 3, but
House Party 3 was okay. House Party 2 was terrible. We're gonna act like that didn't exist.
I've only watched that one once.
Yeah, because Robin Harris passed, so it was like they had to try to fit in a father figure, and my man George Sanford Brown just that wasn't it. They tried to have that just wasn't the sound effects and all that. It was. I don't know how they went from the Hudlin brothers to whomever directed that piece of crap. I have no idea who it was. And again, shout out to you for getting paid to make that terrible movie. But no. So okay, what recent movie have you seen that you would call a hood classic or a classic? And let me preface by this. So with all the streaming services, it's kind of hard for me to kind of go sit in a movie theater, and unless it's like an event movie, like I want to see Sinners, I just haven't got a chance to see it.
Same.
But with all the streaming services, it's kind of hard. So it's like movies are, they're in the theaters for like 3 weeks, and then automatically it's on a streaming service. So what movie have you seen lately that you would consider a classic or a really good movie that could become a classic? Because no movie is an instant classic.
I don't know. Because I don't watch a lot of new stuff until it's available. So I'm not gonna pay for it. Like if it's in theaters, I know you have the option. You could pay for it to just go ahead and watch it at home, but I don't do that. I just wait till it's available. So I'm not really sure what I can say that I've seen recently. That would be because I know the new movie with SZA and Keke Palmer just became available on Netflix.
Okay.
And I don't know. I know there's a couple of some TikTok stars, Josh Neal, shout out to Josh Neal, who's in that movie,
Okay.
Keke Palmer, SZA, and there's some others. I can't really say, and I haven't had a chance to watch that yet, so I
Okay.
can't really say. But that's a recent one that I know has a black cast. Um, and just based on, again, the subject matter, it might be a relatable movie, but when I look at Keke Palmer and for how long she's been in the industry and the types of movies that she's been in that are, in my opinion, great movies, I'm just kind of wondering what this is going to be,
Okay.
what this will be like. Now, and let me actually backtrack. Recent movies, which aren't really recent, but just movies that are more so along this timeline. A lot of the movies by Jordan Peele. Shout out to Jordan Peele.
I was
Like
thinking of Nope.
Nope, yes. So I did see that. I'm trying to think because when you say black classic, are you thinking of a fully black cast? Are you thinking of just, regardless of who the cast members are, if it's directed by like a black director, but it has a really good storyline, like the writing is good, like it's a nuanced conversation, right? So nope, I like Jordan Peele as a director. I think for Get Out to be the first movie that he's ever directed, as far as I know, that was an awesome movie because it illustrates the black experience, whether it's just a black man dating a white girl or an interracial couple in general, but just the subtleties, the microaggressions, and just how things go. It's a movie that majority of the black population can relate to, regardless of where you are in your black experience.
True. True. A movie I saw, and it wasn't recent, but I was hearing a lot of positive reviews about it. Was American Fiction. With my
Okay.
man Jeffrey Wright. And Ster- Sterling Brown with her allergies. She not being
Shout out to
yeah,
Sterling Brown.
I thought she was gonna say shout out to allergies.
Shout out to Sterling K. Brown.
But yeah. Oh, matter of fact, what's her name was in it too? Tracy Ellis Ross was in it. Now, I'm gonna say this because it was a whole bunch of positive reviews. You got to see this movie. So I actually bought it.
Mm-hmm.
I paid for it to watch it on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I could have waited.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say that. It was a good movie. Was it a great movie? For me, no, it wasn't great. It was a good movie, especially with the premise. Um, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. So Jeffrey
American
Wright
Fiction.
plays an author. Yeah, it's fiction. Jeffrey
Oh,
Wright plays.
American Fiction is a
Yeah,
fiction movie.
American
Okay.
Fiction. Yes, it's fiction. Jeffrey Wright plays an author who really can't sell books.
Is Peoples? Is that what I'm thinking?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
peoples, yes.
Nancy
So,
Bejon. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so
Go ahead.
Jeffrey Wright plays a author who can't sell books.
Mm-hmm.
So he changes. So matter of fact, Issa Rae is in it.
Issa.
Issa, whatever.
It's
You
Issa.
knew what I meant though.
It's Issa.
Okay, so Issa Rae is in it. She's not in it long.
Shout out to
She
Issa
just
Rae.
yes, definitely shout out. I love her work. Um, he talks to her and he kind of he changes his writing style to more ghetto-centric is not a word. I'm making it one
Okay.
because that's literally what he did. He changed his writing style to be more N-wordish, so to speak, the
Okay.
characters and everything. And then he becomes a best-selling author as he's
Hmm.
acting like he's a thug and this, that, and the third and escape from
Another movie
jail.
kind of like that with the radio host where he adopted a black woman persona and um became like well known or something like that. I feel like there was a movie about that.
I don't know, Google it.
I'll Google it.
Yeah,
Go,
Google it.
but continue because you're talking.
So that's really what it was. He becomes a best-selling author and everything. And then Sterling K. Brown is his brother, and Trace Ellis Ross is his sister. And like I said, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to give too much away. Um, it was a good movie. It wasn't great as I was expecting it to be. It had its funny moments, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. That's probably the last, I'll say, black movie I've seen